Hello and welcome everyone. This is a conversation about the Open Education Network's Ketty pilot, which was live primarily during the years of 2023 and 2025, although it does continue, so stay tuned. My name is Karen Lauritsen. I am Senior Director of Publishing with the OEN. And in addition to me, I was joined by Jamie Whitman, our Open Educational Practices Specialist, Dave Ernst, our founder and former Executive Director. We've been working on the OEN side to keep the pilot under development. We have been working very closely with our partners at the COCO Foundation. That includes Adam Hyde, Grigor Malo, Dione Mentis, and Christina Tromp. It's been really great partnering with them. They've been so responsive to our needs in the open education community, and we have a lot to show for it. So I'm excited to share that with you today. Our agenda for this session is to give you a little background about Ketty and the goals for the pilot. Jamie will take you on a Ketty tour so that you can see what the user experience is like at a glance and some of what she's been developing to complement Ketty. We're going to celebrate the several publications that pilot group members completed. And we're going to talk together with pilot members about the reflections, what it was like participating in the pilot and using Ketty. And then we'll talk about where we're going to go from here. And at risk of giving a spoiler, I hope that some of you may decide to join us as we take it from here. So first, what is Ketty? Well, it's a web-based open source book production platform. And its strength is really creating beautiful sort of print-ready products that you might see on a shelf. And so that includes a professionally designed book cover done through the magic of coding, as well as very consistent chapters. So you, as an author or as a project manager, you don't have to be thinking about, now what did I do last chapter? I want to be sure to do the same thing this chapter. It's all laid out for you, so you don't have to worry about what pedagogical elements you're going to choose, how you're going to format things. You pick a template and boom, there it is for you. And you carry on by focusing on your content. So that's a quick snapshot of Ketty. As I mentioned, we'll take a closer look at it in a moment. Now, some of you intrepid librarians and participants here today might have Googled Ketty, wanting to get a quick look at it yourself. We do have our own instance, which is not very discoverable online, but it is there, and Jamie will show it to you. But it is more broadly in flux. I'll talk more about the COCO Foundation. I see that Adam has joined us today, so we may hear from him later. But in case you're Googling and wondering, like, where's Ketty? How come I can't find it? There are reasons for that that we will discuss later. So what's in a name? I first learned about Ketty many years ago at the Library Publishing Forum when it was known as Editoria. Some of you may have also attended that LPF and heard Adam's presentation. I was very interested in what it might be able to offer our community, and I kept watch over the next few years. They changed the name from Editoria to Ketita, and when we began our pilot, that's what we knew it as for about the first year. And then halfway through the pilot, the name was changed to Ketty. And so for simplicity's sake, today in this presentation, we're going to call it Ketty. That's how it's known today. And even though you might see documentation or other things that refer to Ketita or Editoria, we are talking about the same thing with all three of those names. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of Ketty and what it can do, I want to take a step back and look at the big picture together with you, and that is how we are working towards community-owned infrastructure. All of you in libraries working in scholarly communication understand the importance of community-owned infrastructure and probably also the challenges of developing it. But we really believe in that vision, and so being able to work closely with the COCO Foundation on building a tool that meets our needs in the open community, one that we can co-fund together, one that we can offer as a collective, is really part of the vision here. So it's not simply, hey, we experiment with these tools and kind of see what they can do. It is really in the spirit of this larger effort. And that I think is really exciting and really important to our efforts. Many of you may have found yourselves in dire straits or tough times as pricing models change. You might be wondering, how are we going to continue our publishing program with these kind of pricing fluctuations? And so this is one of the ways we would like to be able to address that going forward. So this really got started in 2019 with the IMLS National Leadership Grant. Um, we submitted a grant and really focused on an open, iterative community process, which is what you're going to hear about today. And our goals were threefold. We wanted to structure the authoring experience, as I mentioned earlier, to help authors delineate and apply consistent instructional design elements across a textbook. So really offering something so that authors can focus on content. We also wanted something that was interoperable so that import and export functionality would be compatible with other tools and technologies that are in use, and that there would be standard data and file structure, which is really important. This is the piece that is such a challenge when you want to publish in multiple formats and you get a really good looking book online, but you get a so-so PDF. That's what that's about, really trying to get at some of those complexities. And third, we were focused on collaboration. We know that many authors want to work together. You might want to have a copy editor in there. So we wanted to create a tool or support the development of a tool that could meet that community model. So those were the three tenets of the grant. We received the grant, and at that time, I convened an authoring tool advisory group to inform the very early vision of what this might be able to do. We knew that that tool would work well within Ketty and that we wanted to develop it within Ketty. And so those things kind of came together in 2023 when the authoring tool was joined with Ketty. We got the pilot group together, and now here we are in 2026, TBD. But hopefully we will be moving forward with a few more people to experiment. I would like to acknowledge the Authoring Tool Advisory Group that got together and talked as faculty authors of open textbooks, as accessibility experts, as librarians and copyright pros about what they thought would be really useful. And so thank you to this group of people for informing that process. The authoring tool also goes by another name, and that is the Open Textbook Planner. That is how our pilot group came to know this tool. And it is a tool meant to support authors in developing and structuring their books before they start writing. Now, this tool no longer exists as our pilot group knew it. Therefore, rest in peace, authoring tool and Open Textbook Planner. That's because we were working within sort of our very special instance of Ketty, which had the Open Textbook Planner. It did not exist in other instances of Ketty. And we wanted to get into the new Ketty instance that was being maintained and being developed. And so as a group, we decided we can give up the Open Textbook Planner so that we're working in the most up-to-date Ketty tool. In addition, during this time, as all of you have experienced firsthand, generative AI came on the scene. And so this authoring tool that we had developed, which here's a snapshot of what it looked like, is now something that can easily be accomplished with a prompt. We have experimented with that in some different chat tools and are looking at ways that we might continue to offer this same structure and the same benefit, but through AI. And anytime that we're talking about AI within Ketty, there's always a toggle in the background in the admin settings. So if you're like, you know what, AI is not for me or my authors or my program, you can turn it off. So please keep that in mind as we discuss any features that are informed or driven by AI. So this was the Open Textbook Planner. We got a lot of great feedback on it, so I think the concept is really strong. People appreciated this kind of planning tool. So our pilot goals when we launched about 2 years ago. One, we wanted to discover how members use Ketty to publish OAR, pretty straight ahead, get feedback that we could then take back to the developers. We wanted to strengthen and diversify our publishing community. It's not good to only rely on one or two tools. And so having a multitude of tools that can complement and enhance different projects that your faculty want to complete is important to us. And of course, creating new OAR is always top of mind. So those were our goals. How did we do? Well, we were looking for about a dozen participants and received 9 applications from across the OEN. And truly, we finished with 7 partners. And I can't say enough about what a joy it has been working with these 7 people across institutions on the pilot. They've been so forthcoming about their feedback. They've been so flexible when we've had unexpected hiccups along the road. Just a real delight in a very experimental environment. So this is what I'm talking about when I say that. These are really the 7 people at institutions around the country who joined us in the pilot, and you're going to hear from all of them or most of them shortly. So thank you again, pilot partners. I called you partners rather than participants because it feels much more true to how this experience was. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Jamie. She's going to give you a quick Ketty tour.
Okay, all right. As the admin, I have access to all of the books that all of our partners have published through Ketty. So on a typical user interface, you would just see your own books. But in this case, we can see all of the different projects that we have, some testing books that are just made up with some different names, and some of our completed ones with book covers. And we can see how nicely they really appear within Ketty, as Karen was talking about. So jumping into one of these books. This is the Intro to Philosophy book. So this is from OpenStax. As Karen mentioned, we have possible tornadoes coming, so we might be flickering in and out while showing this. But oh my, let's try another chapter. And I had this pulled up and everything just in case this was going to happen, and it's still doing it. Well, one thing we can look at is the settings. So this is what Karen was just talking about with AI. So if you're in your own book and you're interested in using any of the AI settings or customizations, like Karen said, these are all toggleable. So it's customizable. It's not something you have to use if you're not wanting to use the AI. So these are where you can add these different AI settings into it. You can see you can also update the way that your editor tools appear. So this is when you're actually customizing content and adding your content into it. You can add these different customizations to the tool. Okay, we're stable. So looking at the chapter here, so this is a very simple text editor, right? Very similar to any other platform that you might use in terms of adding in your text. You can copy and paste from elsewhere. You can upload a chapter, which will pull in a Word document right into Ketty, and then it will upload everything that you have set up, including your headings if you've formatted it that way. And you can see we have our simple text editor settings up here, again, that you can configure in your settings of the book. You can also add folks. So Karen said a lot of times with publishing, it's about collaborating. Your authors want to collaborate. You might have a copy editor. So this is where you can share this book with other folks. You can be inside the book at the same time, making those changes and working together. And then lastly, we have the publishing aspect of Ketty, and this is where you export into either a PDF or an EPUB. And so as Karen mentioned, the goal of Ketty is really to make these really nicely formatted but consistent format across all of the different downloadable files that you might create. And so you can see we have these different templates here that change the way your content might look. So based on the design that you like, it will format it all correctly all the way through the chapters. And then you can also save these as a particular publishing profile. So if this is always the type of template that you want to use for maybe a specific subject area. You want all of those to look the same. You can keep that publishing profile and name it whatever that subject area is, STEM profile. And you might have a different one for a different area. And those will come into play in just a second when we look at our second tool. Then you can jump back to the editor and be able to make any of your changes there. If we come back to the home page, so that was looking at a book that I've already set up. We have two options to actually get started. You can start from scratch, so it'll just bring you to a blank editor, kind of like we just saw. And you can start typing or copy and pasting work into it, or you can start by importing your files. So this would allow you to select docx files. So you would have to move anything that maybe you're in Google Files or Google Docs for into a docx. But you can go ahead and start, instead of having to start from scratch, start with something that your authors have already been working on and get set up really easily within the platform itself. Okay, and so the second piece of working with Ketty, as you saw, you can really easily export into a PDF or an EPUB. But there's not a place currently where you can host those files or be able to read them online. So it's an HTML publisher, but it doesn't have that interface for interaction. So what we've done is create our own sort of content management system here. So this is still in process of being fully developed. So you can see there's still some test language up in the top corner here, but this will sort of mimic our manifold collections and how that works with setting it up with our individual members and consortia. So jumping into the collections here. We have my test imports, which we'll look at in just a second, but you'll see they're organized by sort of mock publishers at the moment, but this would be, Eastern Kentucky University, for instance, and their collection of published artifacts from Ketty, or it might be Excelsior down here as we continue to build in these publications. You can also filter and search by subject area, so everything can be tagged with a specific subject area. You can filter by collection, so again, this could have EKU or another institution listed under here to really jump to those publications right away. And then what we can do is actually read that publication online. So instead of only having those downloadable exports, we now have a way to actually have this online version and be able to interact with it this way. You'll notice that it jumped me to chapter 4. So it also has built in, we come back to the collections here, it will save my reading progress. So it'll take me right back to where I was. So a nice little feature there if you have folks who are using the online version of one of your publications. And then, as I mentioned, those publishing profiles, what we're able to do with this content management system is take those publishing profiles, so those templates that you've selected, and be able to download and import these files. I think you should be able to see this. So it saved whatever template that I selected for this one. And so now I'm able to host the files somewhere. So I have an online reading component. I have a place to host my files for PDF and EPUBs. So this is the PDF template that I selected. And we have two really simple buttons there to kind of grab it. And so it makes it really easy to move from Ketty to a system where you can display and promote the publications that you've been working on. And so EPUB is the same. This one might take a little bit longer to open. And so this is just in the iBooks reader for EPUBs. And so again, it'll pull in that template. Everything is designed and consistently managed within Ketty so that when you do pull in those downloadable pieces, it all looks exactly how you would expect it to. You can see there's some spacing that is just in the editor itself. As you saw, it's a little jumpy today, I think with my internet and the impending storm, but Yeah, I think that's all for our Ketty and CMS tour.
Thank you, Jamie. And in the chat, everyone has been complimenting your coding skills. It is quite remarkable that you created this online experience. It was definitely a
Thanks.
need. And uh, it's great to see you demo it. Thank you. Amy, I see your question. It's true the Open Textbook Planner, which I think is what you mean by outline functionality, is not embedded in Ketty at this time, but we do want to create something similar uh, using generative AI. Okay, with that, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen and we're going to celebrate some publications. During our 2 years, our 7 partners published 4 publications, which I think is quite remarkable. Jamie is going to drop the links into the chat and you can see them here. These are by authors at 4 different institutions, and you'll hear from them momentarily about that experience. So with that, if our pilot group members would please unmute, I will also actually stop sharing my slides so we can just have a face-to-face conversation. But we're just going to talk casually. People who are joining us, please feel free to ask questions in the chat or unmute. We're a small enough group. I think that should work fine. But let's talk about what you liked about using Ketty. What were the challenges? How was being in a pilot group for you? And what do you hope to see in future development? Bailey, would you be willing to kick us off?
Yes, gladly. Um, my name is Bailey Lake. I am the Open Strategies Librarian at Eastern Kentucky University. I'm in the middle of my 3rd year as an OER librarian, and this project, Accessible Appalachia, was actually the first one that I worked on. And I was a consulting editor in the end, but mainly I served as the publisher for this project. And we were using Ketty in its first iteration as an authoring tool. So we really relied on its strengths for organization and planning. And everything that Karen said, the strengths of Ketty were things that this book needed help with. So it was actually the perfect project to use Ketty with. And I'm very glad we had access to this tool. Accessible Appalachia is a collection of 19 chapters from authors all across Appalachia. So there's not a single author. It is a, compilation of different viewpoints. And our call for chapters went out in early 2020. And so, as we all know, the world then promptly fell apart. And the editors can be forgiven for a little bit of an extended timeline, I think. But the book was finally fully published in June of 2024. I came onto this project, as I said, as a brand new librarian, and I was just trying to learn as much as I could about OER as quickly as I could. But even with my brand new eyes, I knew that the first priority for this book was getting organized. We had just folders and folders of chapters and revised chapters. Some chapters were in APA, some were in Chicago. Some chapters had not been touched editing wise. Some had actually been submitted to Scribe for formal editing. We had 5 of those. So this project was kind of all over the place. And Ketty really helped us get organized. So we had all the chapter content in Google Docs. And so as soon as the major copy editing for each chapter was complete, we were able to list that title in Ketty and just move things around and actually format a cohesive OER rather than just kind of a pile of chapters, which is what we had before. Eventually, we were able to use Ketty to break the book up into 5 major sections. So we broke it into arts, natural resources, environmental justice, culture, social justice, and health, all focused on Appalachia. And Ketty allowed us to get a clear picture of like the flow of the book, experiment with the layout, and move things around. And then definitely helped us provide a clean, easy to understand OER and outline as a whole. So it was like a relief switching from, a folder full of chapters in Google Docs to, okay, this is what our OER is going to be in Ketty. Yeah. And then aside from the authoring tool, we later used the new version of Ketty to format a clean PDF of the OER. So this is the most recent way we've used it. But uh, if you're looking at Accessible Appalachia, you can see it's hosted on Manifold, just because at the time we are using Ketty as an authoring tool. And so when our faculty wanted a PDF of the OER on Manifold, you have to enable an EPUB download that EPUB, and then convert the EPUB to a PDF, which is not only a lot of steps, but some things did not come through very smoothly at all, as Karen was mentioning. Um, so instead of spending a long time fixing the PDF that Manifold gave us, I was able to grab a really clean, beautiful, actually several really clean, beautiful ones from Ketty and send that to the authors. And they were extremely complimentary, had glowing reviews of the, very finalized version that Ketty provided. So saved me a ton of time on PDF editing. And I also want to say that Ketty is excellent in the new version for maintaining accessibility features. So like the headings all came through, the alt text, all those things in the photos. It did a great job maintaining that throughout the PDF. And yeah, I also really enjoyed working with the pilot group. It not only kept us on track, it was great to just like get together with fellow OER librarians and authors and talk through their issues. And that helped me as well figure out where to go next. So that was
Thanks,
nice.
Bailey. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. We met, I think, quarterly to check in and talk about, how things were going. And I do think that that was helpful in multiple ways, not just, in terms of tool development, but in terms of, oh, I'm going to see this group of people again, and I want to be able to share an update with them. And we celebrated milestones together. And I think having that rhythm was really helpful for a few people. Other pilot group members who want to add on or share their experiences? Sure,
Um,
Alex.
uh, I'm Alex Gualdo. I'm a professor of political science. Put together a five-chapter edited text about the Alabama Constitution, which is one of the worst constitutions in the United States, and we were looking at its effects on public policy and democracy in Alabama. And so I put out a call in 2022 around there and got back several professors who offered to write chapters for the book. And so it ended up with five chapters, and I was able to get included in the Ketty pilot. And it's a as an application, it's extremely easy to use. It's intuitive. I've never done anything like this before, and so it was the tool really helped me understand the process of working with people that through the with the collaboration function. I was able to invite authors to edit their own works in the Ketty in the Ketty app, and again, the final creation is just a really elegant and good looking document that I think is just so impressive. And I'd like to thank Karen and the OEN for allowing me to be part of this group.
Thanks, Alex. And I'll mention that Alex was working closely with Jen Pate, the librarian, and then she switched jobs and she sent me an email saying, please let Alex participate anyway, even though he doesn't have a librarian to partner with. And so Alex is a great test case because he's a faculty member who is working directly in Ketty without support and really just learned how to solve so many problems. So because the tool that Jamie demonstrated moments ago, that online experience, was not available, Alex took the PDF from Ketty and added it to a Pressbooks online reading page. And so he kind of merged those two tools together to offer a variety of reading experiences to his students. So it's great working with you, Alex. He was out the gate so fast and was the first publication from this project. Juliana or Melissa, do you want to talk about your publications?
Sure, I can go ahead. I'm Juliana Magro. I am the undergraduate medical education librarian at NYU Grossman School of Medicine. So I don't work with OER directly, though I used to be an OER librarian, so my heart is still there. One thing that I noticed is that in health sciences, I think there's less of an adoption of OER. It is a little bit more challenging for health sciences as the field changes very quickly to keep things updated. But I noticed this need of sharing some teaching resources, particularly in my case, I teach an evidence-based medicine course for first-year medical students. And so I developed this curricula that I really wanted to share with other librarians because I knew that that was a need. So when I saw the call for proposals for this pilot group, it's like, okay, great, this is my opportunity to put something together and share with other people. And so it started as like a very grandiose plan of sharing my entire curriculum. And of course, I was humbled by the process of writing a textbook and having to edit it down and narrow in scope. And I come to appreciate the idea of just incremental progress. So instead of doing my entire curriculum, I focus on the critical appraisal practice of systematic reviews. Um, During the period of the pilot, I also was able to recruit a library intern who worked with me and really made this happen because I was really having issues just finding the time to transform all the material that I already had, but put it into the context of a textbook. And so that was really helpful. Having the group was super helpful. I think more than anything, just having community is so important. And it provided with us with almost like an accountability group, even though it was not the goal. But meeting quarterly to talk about it, it's like, okay, I need to put some work done before we meet. So that was really fantastic. Um, the fact that well, I did use the textbook planner because I thought that was really helpful, even though it doesn't exist anymore. And the Ketty just gave us this infrastructure to make it look super professional. Even after we made it available for people, I had several librarians reach out to me. It's like, how did you make the PDF look so good? Like, yeah, I know it's really a great product. And it was great to decide like the look that I want, like Jamie was showing the different outputs that you can have and having like shaded boxes, transition pages, the title pages, and all of that looked fantastic. So it was really great to be part of this pilot and to be back with a group of people interested in OER. I think it's so important, and I hope that I can continue to work this into the health sciences librarianship a bit more and make materials available for everyone.
Thanks, Juliana. And I do remember when Melissa was talking about her project, which is a handbook. And I think that was the moment that a light bulb went off for you. And you thought, wait a minute, I can scope this project and make it more doable.
Exactly. This all happened because of Melissa. I was like, okay, this is fantastic. I can actually do the same.
Thank you. Melissa, do you want to talk about your handbook?
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm Melissa Chim. I am the scholarly communications librarian over at Excelsior University. And just thank you all to everybody in the pilot. It was so great working with you. It's a great community of people. OER people are some of the best people, I think. So it's great to kind of celebrate everybody's success. So starting out with my book, I was really using the textbook planner very often for organization and just really getting my thoughts down. And as I was working through it, that's where the idea came for a mini handbook. My book, originally Past Makes Perfect, was supposed to be a handbook for students, basically history students at any kind of stage, either undergraduate or graduate, as a kind of like reference source for them if they needed help with, oh, what is a primary source, or what are kind of best practices to doing historical research, like actually visiting an archive or contacting an archive to do research. I wanted to include those kind of things. And as I was working through it, I'm like, oh, a mini format would be great to use because this is something that students can kind of read on the go. they could kind of pick it up and put it down anytime that they needed. And so I found that as an author, that was great for me too. There was kind of like this, all of the pressure was off. Instead of doing like a 300-page normal textbook, oh, I can do a mini textbook that's maybe about 100 pages or less. And I could do that and kind of give students something that they can actually use. And so one thing that I really enjoyed with Ketty was how I mentioned the textbook planner, how it was great for organizing. Also visually, just being able to choose different themes and kind of make the chapters stand out in that way was really good. I'm not a creative person, so I always use like the designer function in like PowerPoint. So to have that kind of equivalent in Ketty was really great. One thing that I did notice that I know there was talk about developing a little bit was there wasn't the option to embed like H5P into Ketty in the version that I was working with. So what I did for my original version was I linked out to those H5Ps. I did end up putting the project into Pressbooks where I could actually embed things like the accordions and branching scenarios and things like that. So that's something to be aware of. And I think that would be a great thing to incorporate in the future. But for our purposes, when I was doing the linking, it was very easy to do, and it took me directly where we needed to go. Yeah, so I'm really appreciative of this experience, and I'm glad that we could all work together, sharing our successes, and hopefully add some more things in the future.
Thanks, Melissa. Corey, Stephanie, anyone else want to jump in?
I'll just jump in from my perspective because I was coming at this like from a very different perspective. I'm Corey Parson. I'm the acting director at University of North Georgia Press. So we partner with Affordable Learning Georgia and have produced over 35 open textbooks. Hi, Jeff. I saw you're in here. What I was trying to get out of Kadita and then Ketty was we were having a difficult time finding a program that would allow us to export into EPUB easily. So this was definitely something that worth exploring to see if it was something that could work in the accessibility and features in that. And I was looking for kind of like an easier workflow. So that was the selfish portion. And then the other portion I thought was I could really contribute some things from the publishing side that maybe faculty authors don't think of, librarians don't think of. So, certain things like accessibility, internal leaking, because linking. So, for example, back in section 7.5, we talked about blah blah blah, and like having like internal links and things like that. So, I think just from my experience with faculty authors, I think Ketty is a great platform for faculty authors who are interested in providing resources to their students that don't cost like $200, and give them an opportunity to provide something that's polished, something that's easy for students to use. I do know that students often complain that they feel like they're learning how to use open materials because they're all kind of different. This kind of creates like a standard, like a student knows how to work a PDF, a student knows how to work a website, and they can learn wherever technology they have available. So if they prefer to read on a computer, they can do that. If they prefer to read on an iPad or on their phone, I think just that kind of accessibility piece when it comes to technology and meeting students where they're at is really important. So I'm really grateful. I did choose like a project management textbook that was like a really big project. So maybe I should have chosen something a little bit more small and easy for me to do. So I haven't finished it yet, but I think it's a great platform for faculty wanting to create their own OER for sure.
Thank you, Corey. Anyone else want to share or have questions for our group? I have a few closing slides, but we have time before then if you're wondering about any Ketty features.
I can ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Then Melissa mentioned that she needed to eventually uh, integrate the book in Pressbooks or ingest it into Pressbooks to use H5P activities. I was wondering how Ketty uh, works with external tools which could be embedded in publishing platforms. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that is our like burgeoning focus. It is on the list of priorities or feedback that we heard. Although the top three priorities are, ensuring accessibility. There is a pre-existing or formerly existing print-on-demand feature so that you could easily link your Ketty publication to Lulu and have like a print-on-demand feature, which would be nice. And then that online version that Jamie's been working on. Now, I think it's that online version where we would have the most potential to build out some of those things that you're accustomed to, that Melissa was talking about. Um, and so we are looking towards that, and we go through sort of a community process to see like, okay, is this where we want to focus our energies next with our developer? Um, Ketty did start, with that focus on like a print ready, sort of shelf ready publication. And so trying to do both of those is a tall order, but we are definitely working towards that. Thank you for that question. Any others? Okay.
I just
Oh, go
saw
ahead.
that, sorry, that Alex had mentioned about moving the book over to OER Commons. And I was just curious, is there any kind of crossover that y'all are looking into when it comes to that? I know it can be uh, kind of difficult the discoverability can be difficult for OER. So I was
Hmm.
just wondering if there was any kind of idea on that.
Yeah, there's definitely, if what people publish, and our focus, of course, is on open textbooks, if it meets the open textbook library criteria, then certainly we would add any Ketida publication. The sticking point was that landing page or that online experience that Jamie showed. And so now that we're almost there with that, it's easier to have to basically to have a place where it lives to be able to share that link. Melissa, I know, linked her handbook from her repository. That's another option. But we haven't looked at OER Commons. That could be something to explore. Thank you. Okay, I think I will share my last few slides and then we'll see where we're at after that. Okay. So we just wrapped up our reflections with some pilot group members. Thank you again, and congratulations again to many of you on your publications. I will also share with you a brief survey that we did. You'll see here that people are pretty optimistic about what Ketty may be able to offer their publishing needs. Um, we also heard that the final product looks really good, and I think that's very important to people, understandably. It has the potential to be very comprehensive and offer these different reading experiences. It's pretty straightforward, like we've seen and heard, and you cannot underestimate the wonder of an easy to use tool. So those are the strengths that people noted. Some of the things that need to be improved or need to be continued to develop are accessibility features. We do have an accessibility statement in Ketty now. We are working on reestablishing the print on demand feature. And as you saw, Jamie's been developing the online version that will basically complement Ketty and work as a catalog and an online experience. So Jamie and I meet with a developer at least once or twice a month. So we're continuing to do that and to advocate for what we've heard from the group. This is a transition time. The end of the pilot has come and gone. This is kind of our last hurrah as a formal group, although everyone is welcome to stay on. And so we're just kind of finding our footing a little bit. In addition, the Cocoa Foundation recently announced that they are sunsetting their organization to focus on new endeavors, and so they're also in a transition. So we are navigating that with them to figure out how we might be able to keep Ketty going in a robust and dynamic way. And so those conversations will continue, and I will keep you updated. Ketty's not going anywhere. We have our OEN instance. If you want to join us and experiment and knock around in there, by all means, I'll let you know how to do that in just a second. But these are transitional times, so this is probably not the place to begin a project that you know needs to happen on a particular timeline or in a particular way. Coco has released a statement that their products are alive and well. They're moving to new homes, and that they are committed to not-for-profit stewardship. This has been a really key element of our partnership, and that we are so aligned in our values and our vision for what these open tools can do and how they can support our mission in the open education space. And so I will keep you posted on that. If you would like to see Ketty for yourself, you can go to this link here. Jamie can also drop it in the chat. You'll have a sign up and you can create your own book. We are working on connecting those two different spaces, the Ketty space and the online CMS space, so stay tuned for that. But that is the conclusion of our Ketty pilot for now and for this session. So thank you everyone for joining us. I will stop sharing again, see if there are any additional questions. As I mentioned, Adam Hyde is here. He's the founder of Coco and knows Ketty near and dear. So if you have any questions for Adam, this is your opportunity as well. And I will pause with that.
Can I just say congratulations to Jamie for awesome CMS? I think it's really cool.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I don't hear any pressing questions, so you will hear from me when we have more clarity about Ketty going forward. In the meantime, sign up, join us. I hope that you've heard enough from pilot group members to consider applying for future pilot groups. It really is quite fun, I think, to work in this experimental space, and it just brings people together and can be a good time. So thank you again to all of our pilot partners and to all of you for joining us today. Take care. I hope the weather wherever you are is not too dramatic. All right, everyone. Farewell.